We're going to have a recession probably fairly soon. And when the recession comes, a lot of us are going to get hurt. I hope I survive. I hope we all survive, but some people are going to get hurt. Throughout history, money printing and borrowing and spending huge amounts of money has always led to inflation. We're going to have inflation now. It's going to get worse. It won't go up every day, but it's going to get worse. The U.S. has been on top for a while, but now, as I said, we are the largest debtor nation in the history of the world. And now we will not let the U.S. dollar stay neutral. Now we're using it as a political or an instrument of war. So that means nobody in his right mind who thinks they might cross the U.S. someday is going to want to use U.S. dollars. You know, I don't think I'm ever going to cross the U.S. dollar, the U.S., the State Department, but I worry. Now I got to figure out something else, some other place to keep my money. It's been 12 years since we had the last recession in the U.S. That's the longest in American history. So we're overdue just on a time basis. I mean, it could last 20 years. Who says it couldn't go on forever, but it never has. So I am sure because of inflation higher, which will drive interest rates higher, we're going to have a recession in the foreseeable future. I'm not trying to scare people. I'm just telling them that's the way it's always worked since the beginning of time. So yes, we're going to have a recession probably fairly soon. You should read Stansberry. They'll tell you when the recession is coming. They're smarter than I am. And when the recession comes, a lot of us are going to get hurt. I hope I survive. I hope we all survive, but some people are going to get hurt. Commodities had a decade or so where they were in the tank for many reasons while people were putting their money into bonds and stocks and property in some countries. I would suspect, since supply and demand have gotten out of whack in most commodities, that the commodity bull market will last a long time. They're printing a lot of money. They're going to continue to print money. Money printing has always led to inflation. And if you own the things that go up in price, you do well. Plus, there are fundamental changes taking place in the world. Electric cars use 4 times or several times as much copper and lead as regular cars. So the demand for a lot of stuff is going to be going up. So we're going to see higher prices. Well, I own gold. I mean, I'm an old peasant, and us old peasants know we better have some gold and silver when things go wrong. I'm not buying at the moment because you just pointed out it's going through the roof. If I were buying anything, I would buy silver now because it's cheaper. I'm not buying either right now, but when they go down again, I hope I'm smart enough to buy more gold and more silver. Yes, they have lagged what many people would think, but Daniela, gold is at an all-time high. It's certainly in euros and most international currencies. So it's not as though gold has been sitting in the corner doing nothing. And I will buy more of both when they calm down. The Fed has rarely been right about anything in the history of the Federal Reserve. What is it, 110 years old almost now? They've rarely been right about anything. They told us that there was no inflation. Then they said it was transitory. I don't know what they're saying now. Throughout history, money printing and borrowing and spending huge amounts of money has always led to inflation. We're going to have inflation now. It's going to get worse. It won't go up every day, but it's going to get worse. And that's going to lead to higher interest rates, and it's going to lead to profit erosion in some industries and some companies. And all of us are going to have to pay more for a loaf of bread or whatever we buy. Well, there'll be a big collapse. If it works the way I said, we have a big rally, one last big rally. It'll be a blow off, call it what you will. Many stocks will really go through the roof. And then when they start going down, Daniel, I know you've been around a while. Bear markets always hurt a lot of people, especially the stocks that have been the strongest. Go back to any big bear market, and the stocks that were very strong before the bear market go down 70, 80, 90% sometimes, even if the company survives. You know, Amazon, Microsoft, these stocks in the late 90s collapsed. We still have them. The companies are still here. The stocks are still here. But the stocks that do well going into the bear market really get crushed. Well, as I said before, I own US dollars. I don't know how long I'm going to own them. If it has one last rally and if stocks do. I have not sold short, Daniela, but probably if it works the way I think it will, is I will start selling short again. Now, if you know how to sell short, you can make a lot of money or lose a lot of money. But if you know how to sell short, it's a way to protect yourself and prosper in a bear market. Agriculture is a disaster. Some of the assets, some of the commodities I told you about, there are fundamental changes taking place in supply and demand. Commodities have not been in a wild bull market for a while. I mean, silver, Daniela, silver is down 60% or 55% now, 55 from its all-time high. That's not a bubble. That's a disaster for the people who own silver for a long time. So there are places that one can invest. I would say real assets, commodities, selling short, cash, but you have to have the right cash, because many currencies are going to go down a lot. And if you can find markets that are depressed, I mean, maybe by then Russia will be open again. Russia will certainly be a hated market by the end of this year and next year. If it opens again, maybe that would be a place to look. I always like to look at places that are hated and that are depressed. And of course, in the last few years, nearly everything has gone up except commodities. Everybody needs to get knowledgeable. You can watch Stansberry, read Stansberry, whatever you have to do to get knowledgeable. Please get knowledgeable, because we're going to have some very complicated times in the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. A lot of countries and people are going to go bankrupt. But if you're knowledgeable about what's going on, you will become prepared. And if you get prepared, you might make a lot of money. A lot of people made a lot of money in the 30s, Daniela. It was a horrible economic disaster. But a lot of people came out of it rich. The key is to be prepared, know what you're doing. Don't listen to hot tips, and just invest in what you yourself know a lot about. But a lot of people, and I hope I do survive, but a lot of people are not going to survive the next bear market. If the internet's closed, you don't have computer money. You're out of, the government has even more control than normal. So I don't see that it's that practical that we're not going to have at least some alternatives, whether it's silver or cash or whatever it is. I cannot see the world having 100% computer money for the reasons I've just said. Now, the governments would like it. They don't have to print the money. They don't have to transport it. They know everything about you.